Greetings, everyone. My name is Laura Richardson. I work with Virtual Service Operations. We've done quite a bit of research, and we have some recommendations for you about Broadcom's VMware strategy and their plans going forward. Broadcom's VMware strategy is seemingly shifting business priorities. Specifically for several of our customers, we're seeing that the end of perpetual licensing is effectively increasing annual pricing for small to medium businesses from anywhere from 50 to 600%. It comes down to, because of the new pricing strategy, I think that consolidating hardware to reduce the Broadcom tax, as I call it, is kind of critical. And just down below, we have a couple of our articles, two from the Wall Street Journal. Dell has terminated their agreement with VMware after the Broadcom acquisition. Also, Broadcom is, there's concern from the different CIOs that are stated in the article in the center. And then over to the right, there's the question, even from a partner perspective, as they're shifting things with regard to partners and how they're supporting customers moving forward. Right, so many people are familiar with VMware. It's the virtualization pioneer, right? But you may not have heard of Broadcom before. So we went back and did some research into Broadcom. You can see they have a heritage of innovation, which we've had pictured here. But it really started out as a semiconductors product division of Hewlett-Packard. And then it has an over 60-year history that dates back first to the origins of HP, and then AT&T and Bell Laboratories, LSI Corporation, Broadcom. It actually rebranded itself from Avago to Broadcom in 2016. What's interesting about all of those acquisitions, which I think there are over 15 acquisitions in all, including VMware. Many of these were in the semiconductor solutions area. And then you can see they begin to add in Brocade and specifically CA Technologies, that's Computer Associates Technologies, and Symantec Enterprise Security. And they're starting to step into the infrastructure software side of the house. So, and then finally, that's culminated with the purchase of VMware. But what's interesting is there are some things that aren't on here. One is Emulex was purchased, and for anybody that knows storage, LSI and Emulex stand out as networking companies that were very focused on storage. And so very, very familiar with Emulex. Another one that's not on here because it didn't actually go through is there was a $103 billion bid that Broadcom put in on Qualcomm. And I think that was in 2017. And it did not go through. It was actually canceled. I think it was blocked by then US President Donald Trump. But they did they took back their offer. But it's interesting that they were going to go even heavier into the semiconductor business via Qualcomm if they had the opportunity. So yeah, so this is Broadcom, a little bit about their history and how they have their acquisitions have grown their company. And then if I net it out, specific to the semiconductor solutions, it was 79% of Broadcom's 2023 net revenue. You can see over on the chart on the right, you can see the $35 billion. So 79% of that $35 billion was semiconductor solutions. Another thing to note is Apple is Broadcom's largest customer and accounted for about 20% or $7 billion of their 2023 net revenue. And then interesting, a note about that is Apple in mid-year, May of 2023, they inked another multi-billion-dollar deal with Broadcom, but they also have subsequently announced that they plan to in-house their chip solutions by 2025. So there's a lot of movement going on. And the other thing that I don't have, another item to note is there's the CHIPS Act that was passed into law for 2023, and that is quite an investment in onshoring chip manufacturing, and that will have an additional. It's just an interesting story because if you look at the things being onshored and companies being encouraged to do manufacturing in the U.S., that is being considered obviously by Apple, but also other tech giants like Microsoft as well. One last thing I'll mention here is that just look at the expected projected revenue with the VMware purchase. That's going from 35 billion on the title to 50 billion projected for fiscal year 2024, and I think that's about a 40+% bump. So that's a pretty impactful number as well. So why did Broadcom acquire VMware? First and foremost is what we've just been speaking about, revenue diversification. And then the next piece is VMware has extremely strong partnerships with all of the top public clouds. So whether you're building it from bare metal or you're doing a hosted or managed solution, they have partnerships with Amazon, with Azure, with Google, IBM Cloud. And so that's extremely important, especially if you're financial services or you're healthcare or you're any kind of regulated customer. You're going to want to, the idea of having a private cloud within the public clouds is extremely attractive. And it's also extremely secure. So the other aspect here is NSX, which is VMware's software-defined networking solution. And this is, if you pair the software-defined networking and data processing units or DPUs, there's an orchestration and security for non-public cloud infrastructure that could, in fact, rival something like Cisco ACI. It's just very robust, and it would be across on-premise and your public clouds, in fact. This is just some of the from the aspect of the CEO of Broadcom. Had a few things to say on VMware, so I just wanted to share that. He's saying specifically, if I net this out, we now have the scale to help global enterprises address their complex IT infrastructure challenges by enabling private and hybrid cloud environments and helping them deploy an apps anywhere strategy. He said, our goal is to help customers optimize their private, hybrid, and multi-cloud environments, allowing them to run applications and services anywhere. And then the next piece, the next thing we wanted to do is take a look at Broadcom's history with acquisitions. So they acquired both. If we're looking especially at the software infrastructure solutions, there are two companies, CA Technologies and Symantec, that they purchased. They purchased CA in 2018 and Symantec in 2019. But both of these, both the loyal Broadcom customers and those acquired through CA and Symantec, saw dramatic repricing. Increases of 60 to 400% were commonplace. And this is the reason why Broadcom's previous M&A outings have been viewed by technology sector and as a negative outcome for both employees and existing customers. Around the VMware portfolio simplification, Broadcom dramatically simplified the offering lineup and the licensing model. If I net this out, it's really two things. They have VMware Cloud Foundation, which is going to be the flagship enterprise class hybrid solution for customers to run their business critical and modern applications on. And then there's also the VMware vSphere Foundation, and that's a much more simplified enterprise grade workload platform for mid-sized to smaller customers. So one of the things I wondered was, okay, so what's in each one? And we'll skip forward. And this really shows you what is in VMware Cloud Foundation. It is also called VCF. And this one has everything: vSphere, Tanzu, Kubernetes Grid, vCenter, vSAN. vSAN, it's a limit of 1 terabyte per core. And then NSX networking, HCX, all of these are listed. And so it really is their most robust offering. It is suitable for hybrid solutions in large and medium-sized companies. And then the VMware vSphere Foundation is also known as VVF. And this one is a much smaller suite of products. And of course, we mentioned it was already aimed at medium and small companies. It's interesting too, in our research of these, we found the pricing the pricing that you're going to be seeing coming, I think it's in mid-May of this year, is $350 per core, and versus for the VCF, and $135 per core for VVF. And then those are list price for the 3-year offering. And then why is Broadcom narrowing its customer focus? Really, by focusing on the top 600 customers, this allows them to, these are typically large enterprises with complex IT environments, making it difficult for them to switch suppliers. But it also, this first and foremost, it allows Broadcom to maintain a stable customer base. The cost reduction, by focusing on smaller pools of customers, they can significantly reduce sales and marketing costs. And this is the strategy also allows Broadcom to trim R&D expenses by not considering the needs of all the other customers outside of the 600. It's actually, there's going to be 600 of the top customers. They represent 70% of the annual recurring revenue. And then there's an additional, there's about 2,000 customers that they're going to be taking from the partner ecosystem and working with them directly, so that they can have more control over their most valuable customers. So big changes for partners and customers alike. Also increased margins. This is, again, I think we've mentioned this before, but just like as they did with CA and Symantec, to be able to take from a roughly 39% to 70% of the EBIT margins is quite significant. And it included cutting sales and marketing costs from 29% of revenue to 7%. The challenge for customers. So what does this all mean? What's the problem here? The challenge for customers is to understand and make the most efficient use of CPU cores in a time when the smallest core count per host machine is growing rapidly. When VMware was priced per CPU for up to 32 cores with perpetual licensing, this pricing allowed IT administrators to be less worried about cost efficiency. Essentially, you would pay subscription and support once per year, and then you keep your cores per CPU under 32, a count of 32, and that's how you control costs. But now, with every core being factored into the price of the subscription-based model, if customers have more modern machines with many cores, the bill can increase dramatically. And so I have an exercise down here to kind of show you exactly what I'm stating up above. So another thing is, with Broadcom's new pricing model, 16 cores per CPU is the minimum for both VCF and VVF. So we also calculated a single point. We calculated the entry point. Say you just want a single ESXi host. That would be, just to do that would be $3,360 a year. And that used to be a free license previously. So that gives you the entry point also shifted. So if we look at this calculation down below, I did the perpetual license, which was the old old version, and I had 4 hosts. It's per CPU, it would be 4,780. Say we do 1 CPU, so you're going to have a total of 4 CPUs, 1 in each host, and then you could have put up to 32 cores per CPU. That comes to an annual price. So you would pay this once per year of, I think it's 19,120. But then if you look at the new pricing, you would still have the 4 hosts, but you would have, it doesn't really matter the CPU count, it's the cores. So then you would multiply the 350 times, and again, I'm using VMware Cloud Foundation, so I'm using the VCF. So we do 350 times 16, or 22,400. But the interesting thing is, so this is the 3-year pricing. The interesting thing is that you would be paying the 62,200 upfront for that 3 years. And the same with if you had a more dense machine with, say, 32 cores, that's line 3, you would be paying the 134,400 upfront at the beginning of your subscription. So as far as different paths forward, we looked at the different migration options. And really the easiest thing to do, you want to tailor it to each customer and their needs. But the easiest thing is to realize cost savings in cloud or on a consolidated hardware on-premises. So in other words, you are looking for, if you have opportunities to, maybe you're not using clusters fully, or you're not using the hardware that you're currently sitting on. You have a lot of cores, but you're not using it to that capacity. The first thing to do is to look at standing up a more optimized cluster and migrate over. That's going to be easiest, especially from there is no reskilling either. So you would save money that way. The next thing is an easy alternative for reskilling, something like Nutanix. Acropolis hypervisor would be another recommendation. And then if a team has a very strong, if your IT department has a very strong Kubernetes team, you could other options that could make sense are Rancher Harvester, or even better, Red Hat OpenShift on Kubernetes in IBM Cloud, or on premises in protected markets. Then there are some other options that are very good. Hyper-V, if you're already on a path to Azure, that's certainly a very powerful solution. Proxmox is very good we recommend that for development teams. Just a note, they have limited support. So that's something to be aware of. And KVM for very small clusters. KVM does not support containers, too, just as a note. VSO has a V2V, a virtual to virtual phased approach. The first thing we would do, your company, is to do a pilot. And the pilot would be focused on the count of the existing VMware clusters, the hosts, the VMs, and really understanding your core usage. We call this, we have a FogLifter. FogLifter is our branding of our IT reporting around count, caliber, and cost. But just to note, this would be focused on count. And then we would do an initial recommendations, understanding your business requirements, and recommending the correct solution options. And then identifying what's being used and what could be migrated off. And then we can help with build and migrate to actually move the workloads to the hardware optimized VMware platform, or to other platforms if need be. And then we also offer managed service to actually take care of the operational environments, whether they're in hybrid systems, VMs, containers. We do this during migration and in steady state. And then finally, I'll leave you with this. It's a bit of an eye chart, but we did a very good, very thorough features comparison, both VMware, KVM, Proxmox, all the different solutions that we mentioned above, Hyper-V and OpenShift, Harvester, and Nutanix. And so we'll leave this with you. And you can see all, oh, and we also offer and support Azure Stack HCI and Nutanix as well. All right, thank you so much for your time. Please reach out to us if you have any questions about your VMware environment. We will also have a white paper posted on our website. And thank you so much. Have a great day.